Xie Lian, Xie Lian screamed as the youth disappeared under the fiery miasma of the sinner's pit. He unleashed Yi, hoping that he'll be able to save the youth before he reached the bottom. Yi extended as far as it can go, only to return empty-handed. Xie Lian realizes that the only way to save Xie Lian is to follow him into the pit. As he kneels to launch himself down, a massive hand wraps around his arm, foiling his plans. It was General Mo. Mo bellows at him that he is not done with Xie Lian. He was baffled by the captives' eagerness to jump to their deaths. He and the Baniyue soldiers took pleasure in pushing or throwing down prisoners to their deaths. However, this time, not one, not two, but 3 captives were so eager to dive headfirst into the sinner's pit. Xie Lian used Yi to smack the general in the face to release himself from the giant's grip. As he falls down to the pit, Xie Lian orders Yi to wrap itself around the Baniyue general. If he's going to fall into the pit, the Baniyue general is coming down with him. The woman hanging from the end of the pole seemed to move, a sudden twitch. This alarmed the Baniyue soldiers as the woman has been unresponsive for so long. They feared for what she could do. Who is that woman? And why are the Baniyue soldiers afraid of her? The woman managed to free her arms from the rope tied around her, and with momentum, she swung up to the pole, dangling her. As she stood above the pole, the soldiers scrambled to the edge of the pit, anticipating her next move. She lifts off the pole, preparing to jump. Her cloak billowed in the winds. The woman attacked the Baniyue soldiers standing at the edge and pushed a few into the pit. Now, you get to have a taste of your own medicine. Let's see how you like finding yourselves at the bottom of the pit with your so-called brothers. As Baniyue soldiers fell to their doom one at a time, Mo turned towards her. However, he is unable to help his soldiers as Yi is still coiled around him. While Mo was distracted, Xie Lian took the opportunity to pull at Yi. General Mo lost his balance and toppled toward the edge. Xie Lian kicked himself off the wall, and they both fell. As a cloud of resentful energy surrounded them, Mo screamed profanities at Xie Lian, promising a slow, painful death to the presumed central planar. They passed through the barrier formation that prevents the unfortunate souls from getting out. With a cackling sound, Xie Lian felt the horde of resentful souls engulfing him, making him prey to their insatiable hunger. As Xie Lian continues to fall, a figure clad in red robes with a silver belt and vambraces extends its arms forward to receive. Before Xie Lian can hit the ground, a pair of strong arms catches him to break his fall. The air of resentful energy was expelled around them. Xie Lian huddled towards the figure's chest. His hand held onto the stranger's clothes, his head tucked towards its neck. His body was positioned to that of a bride on her wedding night, being brought to the threshold of her new home. Here comes the bride. Isn't that sweet? He opens an eye, but with no light shining on the pit, he is unable to see. He calls for the one he came for. He suspects that the one carrying him is no other than Xie Lian. Who else would act lovey-dovey with him in this pit? Xie Lian made use of his other senses, mainly his sense of touch. He used the palms of his hand to touch his savior's face, his neck, and his chest. Go ahead and feel him up. I bet he liked that. Okay, that sounds creepy. Realizing that something is different, he retracts his hand. The figure stood motionless, still carrying him bridal style. Needing to hold on for safety, Xie Lian's other hand holds onto his savior's broad back. His fingers grasped through long silky hair. Xie Lian asked the figure if he was hurt. Xie Lian answered hesitantly that he is unharmed. Xie Lian believes that this figure is indeed Xie Lian. However, the voice is slightly different. The tone and the inflection on the voice is the same, however, it has a more baritone hint to it. From a distance, Xie Lian heard Mo trying to take stock of his brother's and arm's well-being. He grabs a comrade's arm only to realize that it has been severed. He scavenged through the darkness, unknowingly stepping on blood, gore, and guts. The dead bodies of his brothers and arms lay scattered and mangled on the ground. The stench of blood and rotten flesh permeates the air. He screams in agony as he calls for his brothers, asking their poor souls what happened. No matter how much he screamed, commanded, and begged, he received no reply. Deathly silence met his pleas. Still being carried by Xie Lian, Xie Lian took a moment to observe their surroundings. Using his sense of hearing, Xie Lian strained his ears for any other noise inside the pit. Many soldiers fell into the pit earlier. When the soldiers roared above the pit, their roars were met by the screams of their brothers trapped at the bottom. There should be many souls in there, but where are they now? Xie Lian notes how quiet it is, so quiet that not a sound can be heard. Not even the inhale and exhale of Xie Lian's breathing or the soft, steady thrumming of his heartbeat. A sudden realization hit Xie Lian in full force. Xie Lian brought one hand to the figure's chest, feeling for the in and out breathing of the lungs or the soft beats of the heart. Nothing. No matter how much Xie Lian pressed on the figure's chest, there really is nothing. With a strangled cry filled with rage, Mo kneeled and asked the corpses of his fallen comrades, who killed them. He did not realize that he would be met with such a devastating loss when he fell into the pit. He stands slowly, vowing to take his revenge on the one who killed his brothers. He can only suspect one person, the one who dragged him down, the central planar. Who else could have done it? With senses attuned to the darkness of the abandoned ruins, he launches an attack toward the one he assumes to have caused all this. With a swing of his elongated spiked club, he aimed to bludgeon the supposed central planar to his death. Run, Xie Lian, run. Die, central planar, die. Bloodied and full of rage, the fallen general of the Banyue kingdom pulled back his spiked weapon as he ran full force towards Xie Lian. With eyes accustomed to the darkness, Mo's aim was lethal. Xie Lian can't have someone as precious as Sen Lang hurt by this enraged beast. He calls on Ro Yi to protect them, while cautioning Sen Lang to watch out for the attack. Unbeknownst to Xie Lian, Sen Lang is no weakling that needs protection. A red eye peeks through the curtain of wavy hair, and with swift movements, they are able to dodge Mo's attack. Xie Lian felt the wind shift as they moved almost fluidly from one spot to another. Mo's destructive attack hit their previous position. With a resounding boom, the club hits the ground. Dust, debris, and blood dislodge as the club connects. Mo was relentless. He was so freaking mad. Preparing for another attack, he lifts up his club, and with a cry, he thrusts his club forward, towards the couple. Sen Lang effortlessly dodged each attack whilst carrying Xie Lian. Ro Yi swings forward, attempting to distract Mo and to counter each attack. A sudden movement catches Mo's eye. A bloodied scimitar is flying through the air, covered in resentful energy. With quick reflexes honed by multiple battles, he swings his spiked weapon to deflect the flying saber. The sound of metal clashing against each other echoes in the pit as they connect with each strike. The general of Banyue Kingdom parries each strike from the saber as he bellows at them that he does not like being tricked. A slap to his face silences the general as Ro Yi strikes him. This enrages Mo further. He does not appreciate being ganged up on. The two weapons continue to circle him, preparing to bring him down. Sen Lang cockily tells the general that either of them could defeat Mo in a one-on-one battle. He tells Xie Lian to cease his attacks on Mo. Xie Lian readily agrees and urges Sen Lang to put him down. Not wanting to hinder Sen Lang's attacks, Sen Lang did not concede to Xie Lian's wishes and kept him in his arms. This baffled the Crown Prince of Xian. Why wouldn't he put him down? The man carrying him responds that it's because the ground is filthy. That's actually sweet and crazy at the same time. Like, how can you fight while carrying a full-grown man? It's now up to Xie Lian to be the voice of reason, citing how impractical it is to be carried like a bride all the time. Stubborn, Sen Lang interjects that he can, and he finds no reason not to. Meanwhile, Mo continues to parry attack after attack from the scimitar. Worn down from the relentless saber, Mo's spiked weapon hits the ground with a loud thump as the general is brought face down to the ground, a shameful position of defeat. The scimitar pressing against the back of his neck prevented him from rising. The defeated general of Banyue Kingdom asks the supposed central planar if she made him do this. Who is this she that Mo speaks of? He continues to curse Xie Lian, insisting that following the commands of that shrew will lead to Xie Lian's damnation. The souls of his people will drown Xie Lian in eternal misery. Unbothered by the general's cursing, Xie Lian tells Sen Lang to spare the general's life for now. He reasons that they need Mo to get out of the pit. Sen Lang concedes, telling Xie Lian that he did not plan to kill Mo all along. Otherwise, the general would have already been dead. Xie Lian stares at Mo's prone figure on the ground, a safe distance away. He observes his surroundings, feeling for the displaced air, and smelling the stench of flesh and blood. He was rendered speechless for a while, unable to form words. He plays with the tip of the cloth strap to his back that secures his belongings. Finally summoning the courage, he asks Sen Lang if it was he who caused this horrific scene. Whilst Xie Lian is unable to see in the darkened pit, the rancid stench of blood and flesh is a dead giveaway of the devastating fate of those who scream every night for relief, for a sacrifice, for blood. Without hesitation, Sen Lang admits to being the perpetrator. Xie Lian releases a sigh. Then, he scolds Sen Lang for jumping into the pit. Like what? The guy just killed an entire nation of resentful spirits, and you worry that he jumped? Priorities, Xie Lian. The lack of questions surprised Sen Lang. He asks Xie Lian if there's anything else he'd like to ask, to which Xie Lian asks Sen Lang what questions he should be asking. As he stares down at Xie Lian, the figure suggests that he should ask if Sen Lang is a human or a ghost. Xie Lian scratched at this face in discomfort. He tells Sen Lang that his identity does not matter to him. Whether he's human, god, or ghost, it matters little to Xie Lian as he already likes Sen Lang. What matters to him is the person's heart and their compatibility with each other. Sen Lang proved to be very compatible with Xie Lian. Yet again, Sen Lang was surprised. His lips curved up as he agrees to Xie Lian's logic. Those are wonderfully kissable lips yet again. Xie Lian urged Sen Lang to put him down. Sen Lang finally conceded. But first, he looked for a clean spot on the ground for his Gege to stand on. Sen Lang can't have Xie Lian dirtied. Isn't that sweet? Finally standing on his feet, Xie Lian thanks Sen Lang. Xie Lian can't see it, but we can see a mature version of the Sen Lang he knew. A more handsome version. There is something that Xie Lian wants to verify. As Xie Lian tightens the strings securing the farmer's hat to his neck, he asks Kamo who is this her that he was referring to. We will finally find out who it is that Kamo and the Banyue kingdom hate so much. Kamo scoffed in disbelief. He believes that the central planar is tricking him, pretending not to know who she is. The scimitar releases Kamo, allowing him to sit up with his legs crossed. He curses Xie Lian to the depths of hell along with the demonic cultivator. This confuses Xie Lian. Kamo's loyalty to the Grand Tutor is a well-known fact. He suspects that the woman that he may be referring to is the female official he saw before the storm. With his voice hoarse, Kamo denies his allegiance to the Grand Tutor. He curses at her for betraying his country. It is she who cursed the kingdom by opening the gates, allowing the central planers to raze them to the ground. The souls of his brothers have been suffering in the pit since their devastating defeat. He vows to hang her over and over again. Xie Lian pressed at his temples, confused by the sudden turn of events. He clarified if the woman hanging from the pole is the Grand Tutor. Kamo confirmed it with a snarl. This made Xie Lian even more confused. He wonders who the two women who made comments about killing them earlier are. What happened to Nan Feng? As Xie Lian tried to make heads or tails of the situation, all the information gathered did not add up. Exhausting his brain cells, his inner self gives up and slumps catatonic on the ground. Xie Lian.exe not working. For one last bid for clarity, Xie Lian wanted to ask one more questions, which was harshly rebuked by Kamo. Kamo thinks that Xie Lian and his friend killed his soldiers. If I were him, I'd also be annoyed at the 20 questions Kamo parried invisible attacks, refusing to answer questions, while Xie Lian watched dumbfounded. That's actually funny. Like, what are you doing, dude? Xie Lian tried to reason with him by pointing out that they are all stuck in the pit and that they should help each other out. With sudden realization of his current situation, Kamo calms down and decides to sulk, ignore the other two, lamenting how dishonorable the two have been by ganging up on him. Xie Lian can't refute the fact, and tried to reason that he only attacked once. It's probably once too many for Kamo, Xie Lian. Sen Lang finally decided to put matters into his own hands. He lifts a finger shrouded with resentful energy. As he does so, the bodies of the fallen Banyue soldiers rose from the ground. This startled Kamo. What does Sen Lang plan to do? The Banyue people believe in reincarnation. They believe that the condition of the bodies upon death will impact their reincarnated self. Sen Lang threatened to destroy and maim the corpses if Kamo continues to rebuff Xie Lian's question. That's just mean. Sen Lang fearing the desecration of his brother's corpses. Kamo kneels down as he concedes and begs Sen Lang not to destroy their chances in the afterlife. I guess Kamo's a good comrade and leader. He's decent. On second thought, he did throw innocent people to the pit. He's bad. Bad to the bone. Bad. While he does not know if his comrades were freed, he wouldn't want them to suffer yet another insult. He wipes the tears from his eyes as he sits up straight to face Xie Lian and his companion. He holds onto his weapon as he confirms if the two are here to defeat the Grand Tutor. Xie Lian convinced Kamo by implying that if Kamo would only take the time to think the situation over, he would know that they are not working for the Grand Tutor. Kamo lets out a deep breath as he reveals that the Grand Tutor opened the gates, destroying them all for revenge. Now, there's a plot twist. I don't know about you, but I like a good revenge story. Kamo claims that the Grand Tutor deeply hates the kingdom of Banyue. Long ago, there was a girl born into an interracial couple. The father is from Yong'an, while the mother is from Banyue. Due to the recurring battles at the borders of Half Moon and Yong'an, the people discriminated against the citizens of the other country. It was not long before the father cast off the interracial child and her mother. He went back to his country, not looking back at the family he left behind. The mother soon died, leaving the barely 6-year-old girl behind. That is so sad. Poor girl with no one to turn to. The girl suffered from bullying and discrimination as she tried to survive in the borders. During her teen years, a riot occurred, and no one has heard of her since. No one looked for her, no one cared. It came to pass, and the girl showed up once again at the borders, this time armed with demonic cultivation and the ability to control the scorpion snakes, a creature most feared by the people. The girl is as sullen and as quiet as they've remembered. Those who bullied her feared what she may be up to. As she gained a reputation for herself, she was finally called to become the Grand Tutor of the Banyue Kingdom. Her promotion caused a stir as many were afraid that she came back for revenge and urged the king of Banyue to hang her. None of their voices were heard. Xie Lian persuaded Kamo to continue and asked what convinced him to be loyal to her. Kamo admits to his lack of judgment and for being disillusioned. thinking that she was a kind person, not knowing that she had them bewitched. Kamo recounts the tale of when he took his soldiers to the desert to get rid of the bandits. He brought the girl with him as she would be of great help. At the time, she has yet to gain his trust, although he feels a bit of kinship with the girl as he himself has been bullied before and decided to watch over her. Furthermore, her skills are useful, and the soldiers were at ease with her quiet nature. Little did he know that the bandits set up traps beneath the sands. Kamo and his troops prevailed. However, it was at the cost of many of his soldiers' lives. When the battle ended, a sandstorm, as violent as the one that Xie Lian and his group encountered, swept over the desert, leaving them trapped within the bandits' lair. Kamo climbed up with some of his injured soldiers. The storm scared away their horses, forcing them to take cover against a rock wall. The soldiers who were unable to take shelter were left in the lair, presumably dead. After the storm, Kamo went back to the bandits' lair to retrieve the bodies of his fallen brothers. He was surprised to find that the girl dug out a hole for some of his soldiers to take shelter in, saving their lives. She also retrieved the dead bodies buried in the sands and laid them out respectfully. This made a positive impression on Kamo, and he trusted the girl since then. Kamo paved the way for her to become the Grand Tutor. What he did not anticipate was the betrayal. His hand clenched around his weapon tightly. The shrew opened the gates, allowing the Yong'an soldiers to destroy their once flourishing country. That is a total betrayal. No wonder Kamo hates her guts. After everything he did for her, she turns her back and opens the gate, killing them all. Kamo realized that the Grand Tutor had been deceiving them and that she planned all this with the Yong'an's general. Yong'an planted her in Ban Yue's court, waiting for the right time to strike. His soldiers and the people of Ban Yue suffered a miserable defeat. Blood and corpses littered the streets. Kamo vowed that even at the cost of his life, he must murder the shrew. Xie Lian calmly interjects that it must not be the first time that Kamo hanged her above the pit to appease the souls of the fallen. For hundreds of years, he catches her, he hangs her, she escapes, and the cycle repeats, an eternal loop of misery. Kamo rages that hanging her over and over again will not ease their hatred. The Grand Tutor would escape over and over again and push the remaining soldiers to the pit. She also prevented the soldiers from climbing up by setting up a barrier formation. Those who fell are unable to escape unless she releases them herself. He feels sorrow for his soldiers' souls, crying every night, tormented by the witch. He was left with no choice. The only way to appease their souls is by sacrificing innocent people. They yearn for the flesh and souls of those who descended from Yong'an. Xie Lian contemplates what he learned as he tries to piece the story together. War destroyed the Ban Yue kingdom, and the souls of the deceased soldiers turned into fierce ghosts trapped in an endless loop of hatred. Xie Lian pushed on with his conclusion. He asks Kamo if he himself catches those he needs as sacrifices to feed the souls of his fallen brothers. Kamo confessed that they can't leave. They were lucky that scorpion snakes has a knack for biting people, forcing the unfortunate travelers to come all the way to Ban Yue kingdom to gather the herbs as an antidote. Xie Lian continued with his questions. He needed to know if it was Kamo who buried the man also known as the face on the ground as fertilizer. This time, Kamo did not answer directly. He relays that the man tried to steal their treasures but ended up buried in the ground for 50 or so years. Sanlang scuttled closer to Xie Lian. Both of them believe that Kamo is keeping something from them. Xie Lian felt a tingle after Sanlang breathed on his ear, and he does not understand why. I bet that tickles. Xie Lian is attracted to this slightly different Sanlang. He just doesn't know it yet. Xie Lian thought to himself that although Kamo and his men planted many Shan Yu herbs and tended to them using a live person as their main nutrient source, they are still afraid of the scorpion snakes. The Grand Tutor, in spite of being a powerful witch, was caught and hanged repeatedly over the past centuries. She has the power over the snakes, but they kept on going out of the city to bite unsuspecting victims, leading them to Ban Yue Kingdom, eventually being caught and sacrificed by the dead soldiers. She must have been helping the soldiers catch innocent travelers as a sacrifice. There are many holes in this story. The Grand Tutor and Kamo's soldiers were supposed to hate each other, yet the Grand Tutor is helping them. The identities of the two women who ran after Nanfeng are still a mystery. Xie Lian thought to ask Kamo about the women, but Xie Lian was silenced by Sanlang with 2 fingers pressed softly to his lips. Surprised by the sudden gesture, Xie Lian looks at Sanlang, who points towards the rim of the pit. The girl dressed in black peeks at them from above. The Grand Tutor finally made her presence known. She stands up on 2 shaking legs and jumps down unhesitatingly to the bottom of the pit. She lands softly on the ground and trudges through the puddle of blood and guts. With an innocent air of a child, she asks Kamo what's going on. This question annoyed Kamo, and he tells her that everyone is dead. The girl asked how the soldiers died, which infuriated Kamo even further. How could she, the source of their suffering, ask such a thing? Girl, you pushed them all to the pit to suffer miserably. She turns towards the 2 other people in the pit. From her viewpoint, she can only make out the shape of 2 men. As she comes closer, she lights up a fire on her palm using spiritual power. The girl comments that another person is with them. Xie Lian turns towards Xie Lian, finally being able to see him in the dark. Xie Lian looked the way he always looked. Only Xie Lian suspects that he is much taller now. He's a bit more rugged, too. Kamo screamed at the Grand Tutor, accusing her of sending these two to kill the soldiers. Without a hint of remorse, the girl comments that the soldiers' death is a good thing. Angered at her nonchalance, Kamo asked how killing his soldiers is a good thing, to which she replied that the soldiers are now free. I'm a little confused. She seems glad that they're free. I thought she hates them. She directs her attention towards the two other people in the pit and asks if it were them who killed the soldiers. Not wanting to start a confrontation, Xie Lian defends that it was not intentional. I don't think anyone will believe that the Grand Tutor asks how it could be an accident and who they are. Xie Lian promptly introduced himself as a heavenly official and his friend. The Grand Tutor was dumbstruck as she believed that the heavens had forsaken them. She kindly asked if they would like to get out of the pit. Xie Lian answered truthfully that it is their wish to get out, but the barrier is preventing them from doing so. She then offered to release the barrier formation. How nice of her. I did not expect that. Kamo whined in the background, telling her that he is not through with her and she can't just leave. Xie Lian's sweat dropped and used a rag to wipe it. The Banyue Grand Tutor has no intention to fight. Xie Lian did not expect how amicable she is. The formidable Grand Tutor placed her hand against the wall and told them that they can now get out. Xie Lian can't believe how easy it is. That was so anticlimactic. Up above, a person screams down to the pit, asking if there's anyone stuck down there. With the attitude of a grumbling child, he threatened to leave if no one answers. Xie Lian excitedly called out to Fu Yao. Unable to see the bottom of the pit, Fu Yao asked what else is with him. He asked what else, not who else. Xie Lian asked him to come down to the pit to see. Distrustful, he gathered fire in his palm, and with a great blast, fire engulfed the dark pit, illuminating it. Xie Lian was finally able to have a good view of the many corpses. Some of them littered the grounds, while some are piled up high on top of the other. It is unfathomable how Xie Lian caused too much devastation in such a short time. Fu Yao finally reached the bottom. He explains that he's been waiting for them for a long time and decided to follow after instructing the travelers to stay within the array he drew for their safety. He notices two other people in the pit. The giant hulk of a man shaking a woman as he screams at her to use her snakes and release him from his suffering. The Grand Tutor very calmly told him that her snakes are no longer under her control. Kamo won't believe her. The snakes never bit her. He thinks this is a ploy to deceive him again. As he continues to shake her, she utters an apology. The hatred in the giant's heart cannot be appeased with a simple sorry. He bludgeoned her with his weapon and used his fist to punch her over and over again. Yet the anger, pain, and disgust will never leave him. He forces her to bring out her snakes so that he can be bitten and finally laid to rest. Otherwise, he vows to continue abusing her. On the side, Xie Lian watches as he explains who those people are to Fu Yao. Fu Yao has half a mind to stop them but stays where he stands. Finally deciding to put a stop to the violence, Xie Lian approached the two and tried to assuage Kamo's anger. There must have been a misunderstanding. Xie Lian pointed out that they must first discuss the identity of the Yong'an general who helped her. As Xie Lian reaches out to Kamo, a slender hand catches his wrist. It was the Grand Tutor. With tears in her eyes, a rare emotion finally showed on her face. She calls his name as she recognizes him. Her General Hua. Xie Lian was brought back 200 years ago, back when he was a soldier consoling a crying little girl dressed in rags. A girl named Banyue. 2 centuries ago, the border of Yong'an is sparsely populated, in spite of having many houses erected in this town. Not many people roam the streets. Xie Lian entered this town at the border, hoping to collect scraps and sell them. Xie Lian chanced upon an old woman who was willing to let go of some of her scraps. She was kind to give him many wares to sell and bid him farewell. At a distance, 2 men can be heard talking about the latest news. Due to the unrest in the borders, the Yong'an army has been forcefully recruiting people to become soldiers. This has caused the people undue stress as not everyone is willing to go and risk their lives for war. Some of the elderly folks are even unwilling to let their sons go. The other man retorts that he was lucky to be able to run away in time. His neighbor was not as lucky as they caught him in his sleep and dragged him out. These 2 men opted to leave this town, not wanting to be pulled into the army's ranks. Unaware of his surroundings, Xie Lian casually walked the streets with his haul for the day. It was a good haul. He admires a ceramic pot that would be good for pickled vegetables, as he brims with happiness for today's great haul. His happiness was short-lived as he became aware of the commotion ahead. A woman's crying can be heard. She was pleading for her son to be let go, not wanting her only son to be taken away. The son looked to be in his teens. The soldier tells her to not make a fuss as he drags the teen away. The soldier reasons that they should be grateful as there is no nobler cause than fighting a war for the sake of their country. I beg to disagree. Fame and fortune awaits him if they win the war. I don't think soldiers back then are paid enough. It seems like an all-or-nothing gig. If you die, then you lose. If you win the war, you get drinking money to help you forget the trauma. Not wanting to be involved, Xie Lian quietly turns the other way. But with his luck, he was noticed by another soldier and was stopped in his tracks. I think this is the first time I saw Xie Lian turn his back on anything, and he still got dragged into it. The soldier sized him up, unimpressed at his dainty appearance, as they are very much in need of people to fill the ranks. A loser collecting scraps, as long as they can walk and have their limbs intact, is acceptable. They have no standards at all. Thus, Xie Lian became a soldier. Donning his new armor, he takes his sweet time lamenting over his bad fortune. He sits alone atop a chest, still mulling over his new job. He looks at his ration and decides to just roll with it. On the bright side, he gets to eat rations, no matter how unappealing it seems. I guess the only good thing about being drafted is he will at least get food rations. A high-ranking official orders them to consume their food faster. Bandits may attack at a time, and they may lose the chance to eat. As Xie Lian was about to bite on his warm, steamy bun, the gong alerting of the bandits' attack was struck. As soldiers scrambled to get ready for battle, their flurried movements made the bun disappear from between Xie Lian's chopsticks and sand to fill his once warm porridge. It's like fate telling Xie Lian that he can't have nice things. Crying his heart out in hunger, Xie Lian charged toward the bandits. His movements are so fluid that the bandits did not see their deaths coming. With his skills honed that made him a martial god, he played a pivotal role in decimating the bandits. You don't mess with Xie Lian's food under his fake name, who was Xie. He climbed up the rank and became captain as officials took notice of his prowess. When the battle ended, Xie Lian went to the kitchen to ask for more food, but all the rations have been taken. With a growl, his stomach begged to be fed. With very little choice, Xie Lian decided to cook his own food. Using his helmet as a pot, he placed it over the fire while he waits for it to cook. With Xie Lian's abysmal cooking skills, soldiers complained that the food smells like shit. I don't want to eat that. Unable to bear it any longer, a few soldiers approached Xie Lian and kicked his helmet containing the food from the fire. The hungry Xie Lian did not engage them in a fight and simply sat there until they leave. He was mildly surprised when a child, no older than 10, scrambled to the ground and ate the food that was knocked out. Like a dog, she picked up the sullied food and ate it. This breaks my heart. Poor girl. Knowing that his cooking can kill a man, Xie Lian tried to stop the little girl. She choked on a large piece of food and coughs. Xie Lian quickly grabbed her, swung her upside down, and ran around the barracks until she coughs up the food lodged in her throat. I don't think that's how you do it. Dizzy from all the running, the girl hurled everything she ate. Xie Lian kindly asked her if she feels better and tells her to not tell her parents about his attempted poisoning. I mean his frantic running on the barracks with her dangled upside down like a rag doll. No parent will be happy to see that. Xie Lian scolds her for eating food from the ground. As he does so, she made a grab for the stray potato lying next to the fire. Realizing that this girl needed more food than him, he went back to his belongings and gave her the only food he had left. The girl cried in happiness, but her gratefulness did not stop her from vomiting Xie Lian's food. Back to the present, the girl's attention fully focused on Xie Lian. She apologizes to Xie Lian, addressing him as captain. She apologizes for messing up. Meanwhile, Fu Yao attacked Keimo from behind, smashing his elbow down on Keimo's skull. He pulls at a rope to tie up the giant as he asked if she was referring to the general or captain from the tombstone. Xie Lian presses his fingers between his eyes as he admits that it was indeed a tombstone dedicated to him. Fu Yao rebuts that Xie Lian once told them that he came to this country to collect scraps. Xie Lian tells the story of how he came upon the country of Banyue. Attempting to go south, Xie Lian traveled through the desert. As unlucky as he is, his compass broke, which made him decide to live near Half Moon Pass. He initially intended to collect scraps in the surrounding land, however, he was forcefully drafted to work as a soldier. As Xie Lian recounts the tale, he uses a handkerchief to clean up the crying girl. The girl holds onto the tip of the rag like a lifeline. Xie Lian tells how he was then promoted to captain, and people used to respectfully call him general. Fu Yao jolted in surprise as the girl blew her snot on the rag. Fu Yao asked why he was called General Hua when his surname was Xie. Xie Lian explained that he casually came up with a fake name at the time. He called himself Hua Xie. There's another Hua in this story and he's been wanting to change your last name. Look at how pleased he looked. Xie Lian continues his story. At the time, conflicts kept on arising at the borders, and there were many orphans. Kind as he is, he would help them out. One of the orphans is called Banyue. Of all the orphans, she was the most pitiful. The other children from Half Moon bullied her because of her mixed ancestry. There was one young An boy who was kind to her, so Banyue was the name of the country and also her name. Thus she was called Banyue Grand Tutor. Fu Yao urged him to talk more. Xie Lian explains that everything happened just as stated in the crypt. San Lang pointed out that the crypt stated that he died. Xie Lian explained that he faked his death. After a slight kerfuffle, the soldiers from the two countries were frothing at the mouth, wanting to attack one another. Xie Lian attempted to stop them by lecturing them on talking things out amicably rather than harshly provoking each other. He received the anger of both the Ban Yue and Yong'an soldiers, and they united to attack him. Ha 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 ha. You got what you wished for. They did set aside their anger and directed it at you. Fu Yao pointed out how Xie Lian likes to interfere and have both parties hate him in the end. If Xie Lian knows he is being hated, he should have run away rather than face them head-on. Being immortal turned against Xie Lian's favor, as stabbing him a few times did not kill him, so he decided to fall over his own feet to play dead. However, it did not stop the soldiers from trampling over him and stabbing him over and over again. He found himself floating on a river when he woke up, choking on the water. His armor was taken, allowing him to float amongst the other corpses. He surmised that they may have thought him dead and threw his body with the rest of the fallen in the river. He laments about not being able to take his belongings. Xie Lian always ends up in the most unfortunate situation. I'm surprised that he still has not ascended at that time. An awkward silence punctuated his story. Once again, Ban Yue apologizes to General Hua. Fu Yao asked Xie Lian what she has to apologize for. Ban Yue answered that General Hua saved her, causing him to be trampled and die a horrible death, or fake death. Xie Lian tried to console her by denying the fact that he was flattened like a pancake in the hot desert. Xie Lian tried to remember what led to the trampling. He remembers finding Ban Yue huddled against a tree. He wanted to pick her up, but the soldiers from the two countries were about to fight. He tried to intervene, but they were so mad that they could not see reason. Fu Yao comments that an event leading to trampling is something that one does not forget easily. However, Xie Lian does not see it that way. With age, he decided that being trampled on was no big deal. He does not see the point of dwelling on the unfortunate events. He'd rather cling on the happy memories, like the bun he had eaten recently. He comforts Ban Yue, telling her that saving her was his decision and that she has nothing to apologize for. He tells Ban Yue that there may be other people who deserve to hear her apologies. Xie Lian cannot wrap his head around the nuance that it was this little girl that caused the destruction of a kingdom and orchestrated for innocent travelers to be bitten, forcing them to seek the herbs at Ban Yue Kingdom. Ban Yue tearfully tells Xie Lian that she did not order the snakes to bite the hapless travelers. She wails to Xie Lian, snot dripping down her nose, explaining that the snakes do not follow her orders anymore. Fu Yao does not believe her. No one admits to their wrongdoings once caught. He ordered Ban Yue to bring her hands together so that he can tie her up. Still sniffling and holding to Xie Lian's handkerchief, she obediently complies. Convinced that the case is over, Fu Yao told the others that they are done. San Lang interjected that someone in her predicament does not need to lie. Xie Lian asked Ban Yue if she has completely lost control of the scorpion snakes. Ban Yue admits that they do listen to her at times, but there are instances when they don't. Xie Lian asked Ban Yue to summon the snakes. She immediately complied. And as a snake falls down to the pit, Xie Lian noticed how aggressive it is. As he drew nearer to the snake to examine it further, he hears a noise that prompted him to look up. It's raining snakes. Yua, I wouldn't want them falling on me. No. Xie Lian ordered Fu Yao to cast a firewall to kill the snakes before they land. A red umbrella sprung from nowhere and shielded Xie Lian from the barrage of slithery snakes falling from the sky. The red-clad figure beside him huddled closer, holding onto Xie Lian's waist. They were so close. As the snakes fall above them, Xie Lian notices how some of them desecrate before they hit the roof of the umbrella. They would erupt and get torn to pieces. Soon, the area surrounding where they stood was littered with dead carcasses of scorpion snakes. San Lang told him not to move. No creature will dare come close. With a cry, Ban Yue beseeched Xie Lian to believe her. She insists that this is not her doing. Being forced to get rid of the snakes, Fu Yao summoned lightning-like powers to his palms and used them to fry the snakes attacking him. Xie Lian looks up to San Lang, wanting to enlist him to help Fu Yao, but San Lang tells him that there is no need to help the deputy god. Xie Lian was surprised by how San Lang can predict what his request is going to be. San Lang assures him that he can be at ease because the snakes won't be able to kill that trash deputy god, Fu Yao. That's a strong word. Xie Lian calls out to Fu Yao, asking him why he did not use his firewall to fry all the snakes in one go. The snakes relentlessly attacked Fu Yao while Ban Yue stood to the side unharmed, struggling with a snake in both hands and two other snakes wrapped around his neck. Fu Yao bellows that he indeed wanted to burn all the snakes to dust, but the creature beside Xie Lian is suppressing his powers. Xie Lian looks up at San Lang for confirmation. San Lang denies having anything to do with suppressing the deputy god's spiritual energy. Xie Lian believes him. He suspects that something is wrong. Ban Yue and Kmo are tied down, and his own spiritual power is depleted. If it's not Xie Lian, there must be someone else. There is only one conclusion. There is a sixth person in the pit. Fu Yao continued to fight the snakes, using his bare hands to dislodge them off him one at a time. He claims that he did not see another living person in the pit when he used the fire to light up the pit before jumping down. There was no one else who jumped down either. Meanwhile, two disembodied hands with their fingers bloodied and broken reach out to Ban Yue. They clamped on her mouth and pulled her towards a portal. Realizing that she disappeared, Xie Lian ran to where she was last seen. Fu Yao cautioned him to be careful. It may be a trick to make him come closer. Even with a smidge of doubt about her innocence, Xie Lian set out to save her. A hand grabs at his shoulder as Xie Lian whispers to his ear in agreement. He really likes to get close to Xie Lian. Xie Lian's feet lift off the ground as Xie Lian jumps up. To his surprise, he was carried up in the air by strong arms holding onto his waist. Xie Lian's other hand continues to hold the red umbrella above them. As they try to leave, a bloodied scimitar slashes through the air at an invisible opponent. They landed on one of the stones protruding from the wall. Xie Lian continues to lift up Xie Lian, holding him so close to him. Xie Lian calls for Ban Yue, asking for her well-being, genuinely worried for her. This annoyed Fu Yao as he tried to spit out that Ban Yue may be the one who has been attacking them. He pointed out that the Grand Tutor is no better than Zhu and Jai as they both betrayed their own countries. There is no reason for Xie Lian to trust her. Xie Lian scolded him for being so impatient, but a sudden realization dawned on him. He asked Fu Yao to repeat what he said. Fu Yao reiterated his sentiment and asked why Xie Lian would place his trust in Ban Yue. He elaborated that it is no better than trusting the one next to Xie Lian. He points out that despite all the glaring evidence, Xie Lian chooses to keep Xie Lian beside him. Xie Lian has always been suspicious. In fact, he's not even making an effort to hide it at all. Xie Lian rebuffed his concerns and asked him about Zhu and Jai. This irritated Fu Yao even further as Zhu and Jai is unrelated to Ban Yue. Xie Lian bites the top of his thumb as he berates himself for not noticing it sooner. Xie Lian commands their opponent to stop, as keeping himself hidden from them is no use. Without a hint of doubt, Xie Lian calls for the real culprit, General Pei Jr. Fu Yao can't believe his ears. How could it be General Pei Jr.? If he were to enter the pit, such a powerful being will be easily noticeable. Xie Lian agrees with him, but what if a clone was used? As the scimitar battles against the invisible foe, Xie Lian puts the pieces together for Fu Yao. It was highly suspicious that the deaths connected to Half Moon Pass began 2 centuries ago, yet the Heavenly Court did not make a move to resolve it. There must be an esteemed heavenly official pulling at the strings keeping the situation under wraps. As most heavenly officials are unfamiliar with Xie Lian, he was unable to point out who may be the culprit. Fu Yao accidentally made him see the connection when he mentioned Zhu and Jai's name. As Xie Lian explains his theory, Xie Lian's right eye glows a bright red, hinting at his true identity. Heck, even the umbrella's handle is decorated with silver butterflies. Prior to his ascension, General Pei Jr. was known as a city slaughterer. Xie Lian asked to confirm if he meant that the city the General Pei Jr. slaughtered was the Ban Yue Kingdom. Xie Lian agreed with Xie Lian. The path to becoming a martial god is a bloody one, and it is not uncommon for heavenly officials to have a bloody past. However, new followers may not choose to believe in a god who ascended atop the pile of bodies they killed. Not wanting to offend General Pei, the Heavenly Court chose to ignore Half Moon Pass. In the Imperial Building, the face on the ground mentioned that he had met one of them 50 years ago. Xie Lian thought that it may be an attempt to get them to come closer. He realizes now that there may have been some truth to it. The culprit can pretend as a guide to lure the passing caravans into where he wants them. It is rare for the scorpion snakes to venture out of their habitat, and Xie Lian, who lived on the border of Half Moon, he never encountered one. The guide will make sure that an important member of the caravan is bitten, forcing the others to venture to the Ban Yue Kingdom to get the herbs as an antidote. Xie Lian looks back to when Uncle Zhang was bitten. He made clear instructions on how to get to Ban Yue Pass. He said this out loud so that those who won't be able to wait will be able to follow them easily. And lastly, when they were at the top of the sinner's pit, the usual passive guide threw his life away unprovoked. Xie Lian found these behaviors suspicious, but it was only now that he realized who the guide really was. As he explains this, a figure starts to form in a swarm of dark particles. Xie Lian suspects that he might have realized it too late. Fu Yao forms a hand seal and calls forth his fire. In a split second, he disappeared. That's anticlimactic. Of all the time to retreat, why now when the culprit just revealed himself? Xie Lian addressed General Pei Jr. as his form became more recognizable. His clone appears before them, carrying Ban Yue like a sack of potato on his shoulder. The one that the merchants trusted, the guide, Zhao. Zhao pointed out that perhaps the face in the ground might be referring to the Xie Lian. Recognizing another's voice, Mo screamed at this figure, demanding to know who he is. Zhao addressed him and commented that Mo has not changed one bit even after hundreds of years. Mo finally recognized him. It is Pei Su, the Yong'an general who colluded with Ban Yue to destroy the Ban Yue kingdom. Still being held in San Lang's arms, Xie Lian concluded that the snakes were being controlled by Pei Su. He asks if it was Ban Yue who taught him how to control the snakes. Pei Su answered that he learned it on his own. Xie Lian praised General Pei Jr.'s intelligence. He asked how General Pei Su met Ban Yue, to which the clone replied that General Hua must not remember him. In a flood of memories, Xie Lian remembers a Yong'an boy who would play with Ban Yue. He remembered that the Yong'an boy joined the army. Without hesitation, the clone of General Pei Su confirmed that he was indeed that boy. Pei Su admitted that he also just recognized General Hua. Tired of the solemn reunion, Mo spat on the ground and demanded to be untied. He wants to fight the despicable Pei Su to death. Pei Su pointed out that he already killed Mo. He also wanted to know how he can be called despicable. Mo angrily retorted that if not for Ban Yue and Pei Su, the country of Ban Yue would not be destroyed. Pei Su mocks that even with a few thousand men, he would defeat the Ban Yue soldiers even if the gates never open. If opening the gate was not necessary for his success, Xie Lian wanted to know why he asked Ban Yue to open the gate. Pei Su explained that he needed to annihilate the whole country, knowing that defeat is imminent. The citizens of Ban Yue plan to use explosives and take the lives of as many Yong'an as they can. They plan to strap explosives to themselves and blend into a crowd in Yong'an to detonate the bomb. Along with the suicide bombers, many civilians will die. Amusement lacing his voice, San Lang comments on how vicious the Ban Yue people are. Xie Lian asked Mo if it were true. Mo unashamedly confirmed it. He countered that they wouldn't have resorted to suicide bombing if the Yong'ans did not try to destroy the Ban Yue kingdom. Unrelentingly, Pei Su broke down every event, every little thing that led to Yong'an's attack on Mo. In the year leading up to the destruction of the Ban Yue kingdom, the Ban Yue soldiers started fights at the borders. The caravans from Yong'an were blocked, preventing trade and profit. Thieves who would pillage and kill the Yong'ans are supported by Mo's soldiers. All of these are what Pei Su considered vicious. Not wanting to admit to any wrongs, Mo shot back that the Yong'ans took their lands. He claims that the lines were drawn, but the Yong'ans took what was theirs. Pei Su countered that the lines in the border were not clear and that it was the Ban Yue kingdom who decided for themselves that they owned the oasis while Yong'an owned the desert. A suggestion not acknowledged by Yong'an. I guess it's pretty common back in the day for people to fight over lands, especially when borders are not clear. Even among neighboring families, people would kill each other for a plot of land. Frothing at the mouth in anger, Mo insisted that the oasis belongs to the Ban Yue people. Their ancestors originated in the oasis, and they lived most of their lives there. There is no reason for outsiders to take a piece of their land. His single-mindedness and cursing annoyed Pei Su. Still carrying Ban Yue, he kicked Mo across the face, causing the giant hulk of a man to fly toward the wall. Pei Su remarks that there are things that can't be resolved by talking, but a good beating may just be the option. So, Pei Su chose violence. Xie Lian agreed that indeed there are times when talking does not work, while San Lang advocates beating. As Mo lies slumped on the wall, he curses at Pei Su, calling him shameless. He does not believe that Pei Su did what he did for his country's glory or for the people. Mo claims that Pei Su slaughtered an entire city for his own gain, even using Ban Yue to further his career. Pei Su does not feel guilt at all. He reasons that Ban Yue is also a citizen of Yong'an. She chose to support Yong'an, and he does not see what she did as a betrayal. He does not feel any regret for slaughtering those people. A soft wind blows in the pit. A voice echoes and asks Pei Su if he also felt no regret in sacrificing the lives of the innocent merchants traveling through Half Moon Pass. A Fu Chen was being waved. A Fu Chen is a fly whisk made of horsetail that Taoist monks use as a martial arts weapon. It is said that he who holds the Fu Chen is a formidable foe. A dainty hand waves the Fu Chen, and the wind gradually turns into a full-blown tempest, lifting them up. With little spiritual power to keep himself in place, Xie Lian was easily lifted upwards. San Lang held onto his hand and squeezed it reassuringly. He opens up his umbrella and joins Xie Lian to ride the wind to freedom. They finally reach the top, and Xie Lian lands safely on the edge. Dust stung his eyes, and when he opened them, he was met with the sight of Nanfang and the two mysterious women. Nanfang looked beat up and dirty. Xie Lian was surprised that Nanfang was beaten up by the two ladies. He cordially greeted them while San Lang and the woman dressed in black seemed to be holding their tongues. Pei Su bent on one knee, saluted the woman in white, and addressed her as Lord Wind Master. Another surprise for Xie Lian. He remembered that when he asked for help in the communication array, the Wind Master was generously giving away thousands of merits to her adoring fans. He quietly admonished Nanfeng for not telling him that the woman was the Lord Wind Master. He suspected her of being the Ban Yue Grand Tutor. Nanfeng irritatedly defended himself, explaining that this is not the Wind Master's usual appearance. It turned out that the two women were heavenly officials. The one clad in white is the Wind Master, Shi Xian, while the one dressed in dark robes is the Earth Master, Mingyi. The Wind Master kneels down, facing Pei Su. She tells him that she was able to gather evidence for his crimes and gives him the run-through on what's going to happen now. Not only did Pei Su slaughter a city, but he also sacrificed numerous souls over the years to appease the soldiers' resentment. For 200 years, he used Ban Yue's scorpion snakes to bite the hapless travelers. He used a clone to guide the travelers to Ban Yue Kingdom, allowing K-Mo to capture them and be fed to his brothers. It was an ingenious plan. As the Wind Master stands up, she instructs him to think about how he will relay the story to General Pei. General Pei Jr. acquiesced. The Lord Wind Master faced Xie Lian and apologized for the desert storm they had to endure earlier. It was her who caused it. She was simply trying to keep them away from Half Moon Pass and did not expect them to make it there. As a high-ranking official, she will be taking the matter off Xie Lian's hands. Being already deeply involved in the situation, Xie Lian does not intend to back down. He worries that the majority of the crimes may be pinned on Ban Yue. He can't just walk away. The Wind Master is an intuitive person. She was able to quickly understand Xie Lian's concerns. She magnanimously told Xie Lian that she will only take K-Mo ad General Pei Jr. for questioning. She understood that Xie Lian is worried that the blame will be placed on Ban Yue. The Earth Master impatiently cut her off, which irritated the Wind Master. She pulled out her fan and finally bid her farewells. With a swish of her elegant fan and a promise to meet Xie Lian again, she called the winds to transport them back to the heavenly court. Xie Lian tried to prevent her from leaving but was too late. Able to read between the lines, Sen Lang informed Xie Lian that the Wind Master does not wish to get Xie Lian more involved for his own good. Nanfeng agreed. All that's left is to report the events to the Heavenly Emperor. Xie Lian does not need to get involved further. However, Nanfeng cautioned him to be more careful as this may result in General Pei giving him a hard time. Xie Lian smiled as he sweat dropped. He knew all along that he will one day offend a person. It just so happened that he offended a high-ranking heavenly official. Of all the people to offend, Nanfeng scolded him for his nonchalant attitude. He explains that Pei Ming's influence is second only to the Heavenly Emperor. The martial god has always treated Pei Su with high regard. He intended to have him replace the martial god of the West, Quan Yizhen. His eyes will now be on Xie Lian. Sen Lang brushed off Nanfeng's worries. He told Xie Lian that Pei Ming is not the kind to resort to underhanded tactics. Xie Lian expressed concerns for the Wind Master. As Xie Lian will no longer be involved, the task of presenting General Pei Jr.'s crime to the Heavenly Court will fall on her shoulders, which will make her at odds with General Pei. His heart filled with worry for her, and he asked Nanfeng for her communication array's password to make her come back. Nanfeng declined his request and appeased Xie Lian's worries by informing him that the Lord Wind Master has many friends in the court that will protect her. Well, she did generously give away so many merits. Almost everyone would want to be her friend. Xie Lian noticed that Fu Yao is nowhere in sight. He disappeared after Pei Su showed himself. Having only arrived after all the drama in the pit, Nanfeng was under the impression that Fu Yao was with the traveling merchants. This reminded Xie Lian that they need to go back to give the unfortunate Uncle Zheng the antidote. It was morning. They were able to arrive in time to save the old man. One of the merchants grounded the herb with a mortar and pestle. The resulting paste was given orally to Uncle Zheng. On the horizon, Tian Sheng and his companion ran toward them. Maybe Xie Lian forgot about them. The traveling merchants are already packing up their stuff and preparing to leave. Tian Sheng was relieved and rejoiced to see that Uncle Zheng is no longer on the brink of death. The proverbial storm has finally passed. They can now move forward. Tian Sheng approached Xie Lian while they were feeding the camels. He suspects that Xie Lian is a god. His eyes can't be deceived. He remembers that Xie Lian and the red-clad youth both jumped off the sinner's pit and came back unharmed. Only a mighty being can come out of there unscathed. He was so thankful that they came back in time to save his dear uncle. The team promises that he will keep Xie Lian's godhood a secret, although it is no concern of Xie Lian as he knows that no one will believe the boy. The boy was also grateful that Xie Lian saved him from being thrown into the pit. It was thanks to Xie Lian and his group that they came out of this alive. Although it was sad that Zhao was not able to make it, he was not aware that Zhao was the cause of their suffering. He wonders where the girl wearing black went. Xie Lian awkwardly tried to give him an answer as he holds onto his hat while the camels tried to gnaw on them. He knelt on the ground as he showed the boy an earthen pot. Ban Yue's soul is in the pot. Xie Lian explained that some souls can be kept in a clay pot for safekeeping. Luckily, they were able to find one in the imperial palace of Ban Yue. This new knowledge excited the impressionable youth. He wholeheartedly thanked Xie Lian and promised to build Xie Lian a big temple to worship him. He's such a sweetheart. When the merchants were ready to go, they bid their farewells to the traveling caravan. It is nighttime. Pukai Shrine is exactly how they left it. Light illuminates from its windows, and a large noticeable hole on the sidewall. Xie Lian excitedly unrolls the mat. He can finally rest at long last. He asked Sen Lang how long they'd been gone, to which Sen Lang answered that they were gone for about 3 or 4 days. Xie Lian can't believe that they were not gone for so long. Can't blame him. A lot of things happened in those few days. He haphazardly slumped on the bed, finally feeling the weariness down to his bones. Sen Lang came closer and sat on the mat. Remembering that Nan Feng is still with them, Xie Lian turned to him to thank him and offered to make him dinner. Not knowing what to make of 2 male adults sharing a bed, Nan Feng stood there speechless. At the mention of food made by Xie Lian, the corner of his mouth gave an involuntary twitch. He raised 2 fingers to his temple and exclaimed that a horrible thing has happened, requiring his immediate attention. Really, why'd it look like acting to me? Thinking that he might be of help, Xie Lian asked him what happened and tried to stop him from leaving. Nan Feng shouted back that the two should keep a respectable distance from each other. He screamed at them that he'll be back as he slammed the door shut with a resounding bang. Xie Lian peeked through the hole in the wall caused by Fu Yao's rage. He wonders how urgent the task is. Sen Lang fiddled with the strings wrapping his vambraces secure. He tells Xie Lian that Nan Feng is probably not hungry. Tired from their long trip, Xie Lian extended the offer to Sen Lang, wanting to know if the young man is famished. Sen Lang admitted to being hungry. While Xie Lian stood over the kitchen's counter, he asked the young man clad in red what he wanted to eat and addressed him by his real name. Hua Cheng. I knew it. It's really him. So, Xie Lian finally decided to stop the little game they'd been playing. Hua Cheng stopped fiddling with the string as he gave a non-committal hum. He turned to Xie Lian and told him that he prefers to be called Sen Lang. Xie Lian rearranged his belongings on the counter as he prepares to cook. He then cordially addressed the other man with his moniker, Crimson Rain Sought Flower. The other shot back with Your Highness the Crown Prince. This puts a smile on Xie Lian's face. When people call him Your Highness, it is mostly out of courtesy or obligation. But there's a reverence on the way Sen Lang says it. He comments that it was the first time that Sen Lang referred to him as the Crown Prince. He noted that the way Sen Lang says it is different from the others. Sen Lang seems to understand the difference. Xie Lian asked him if he was the groom who escorted him out of the palanquin at Yujin Mountain. Sen Lang smiled at him dashingly. Flustered at the attention, Xie Lian corrected himself. He asked if Sen Lang was pretending to be the bridegroom on that fateful day at Yujin Mountain. Sen Lang cockily responded that it was not his intention to pretend to be the bridegroom. This surprised Xie Lian, and he was rendered speechless for a moment. He internalized that the Ghost King seated on his bed was not wrong. This Ghost King was simply there, clad in red, and did not say anything while he extended his hand to Xie Lian and escorted him through the woods. He was not pretending to be a groom. He wants to be your groom. Xie Lian coughed to compose himself. He asked Sen Lang what he was doing in the mountain. Sen Lang responded with 2 answers to this question. One is that he wanted to spend time with His Highness, the other, he has nothing better to do. He made Xie Lian pick the answer that he would find believable. Pick the first one. Xie Lian looked back on their past interactions. From the time he met Sen Lang on the cart, to Sen Lang chopping wood to make him a door, to Sen Lang tagging along in the hot desert. What Ghost King would take the time to do all these mundane things? He must be really bored. Mo Xie Lian. He wants to spend time with you and play house. Xie Lian approached the Ghost King on the bed. Oh, he's approaching. No. Get your minds off the gutter. They're just going to talk. He comments that Hua Cheng is different from what the rumors say about him. Hua Cheng coyly asked how Xie Lian figured it out. Xie Lian thought that it was almost a no-brainer how the Ghost King did not even try to keep it a secret at all. Xie Lian explained that the Ghost King's body has no flaws. He admits to testing his palms and hair. If he was not human, there was only one conclusion. He must be a devastation-ranked ghost. A supreme. He was also dressed in red, the signature clothing of Hua Cheng. The way he talks and the way he moves is reminiscent of someone who knows that they are far smarter than anyone and far stronger than anyone. Someone who knows their power is peerless and feels no need to impress or cower. Xie Lian dug through his clothes and pulled out 2 stones as fire strikers. He knocks them together to light the single candle in the room. With these observations, Xie Lian can only conclude that if not for Crimson Rain Sought Flower, who is feared by the gods in the heavenly court, no one else can match the description. Hua Cheng asked if he could take Xie Lian's observations as compliments. Xie Lian looked back at him, his expression open and honest, as he told the Ghost King that they are indeed compliments. He placed the candle in the middle of the bedside table. A companionable silence engulfs them. The earthen pot housing the Banyue Grand Tutor started to shake and leaped off its confines. It rolled all over the floor and went outside. Banyue was roused from her deep sleep and had gained enough strength to move the pot. The pot forlornly sat at the edge of Pu Kai Shrine's patio. Xie Lian comments that although the sky is different here from the north sky, the view of the Milky Way is still beautiful. In an attempt to console her, Xie Lian offered to give her a tour of the village while it was still dark. Sanlang cautioned against this as Banyue is still weak from her ordeal in Banyue Kingdom. The kind-hearted girl asked her General Hua what would become of General Pei Jr. Xie Lian can't give her an answer as it is out of his hands. However, Xie Lian believes that General Pei Jr. should be punished for his crimes. Banyue, now a ghost of a woman, tried to defend Pei Su as the man was there to help her in the past. Keimo may think that it was Pei Su who brainwashed her and that she was being used, but Banyue admits that it was her choice to open the city gates. Xie Lian, who has been a parental figure to her, consoled her and patted the top of the pot. She apologized to General Hua, to which Xie Lian does not understand why she keeps on apologizing to him. She blurted out a sentence that made Xie Lian cringe. His childish, optimistic desire to save the common people was recited back to him. Out of embarrassment, he pressed down on the pot in a bid to silence Banyue. He can't believe he said such things. Banyue recalls a time when she was playing with Xie Lian. He asked her what she wanted to do when she grows up. For a child who lives off the charity of people and struggles to survive day after day, she has no future prospects. She asks Xie Lian what his dreams are. With a heroic pose, as he wipes the blood off his nose, he declares his dream to save the common people. He can't believe that of all the things to remember, she has to remember those words. She was moved by his earnest declaration and kept them all close to her heart, together with his other motivational speech such as "You're unstoppable, always do the right thing, and when you fall down, you must always get back up." Xie Lian was the ultimate cheerleader. I want him in my squad. Xie Lian can't believe all the nonsense he spouted through the years. It seems that he has changed a lot in the past 200 years and lost his overly optimistic self. Banyue can't tell right from wrong anymore. She wanted to save the Yong'an people. However, it was at the expense of damning the souls of the Banyue people. One country's hero is another country's monster. I hope that Banyue will someday be able to forgive herself and accept that there are things that are outside of her control. Today, we conclude the Banyue arc with a bonus of finally revealing Sanlang's true identity. We'll end it here today, and see you next time. Bye.